All right, welcome everybody to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode 501. Today is the 19th of June, 2024, and we are going to get into all of your questions here in just a minute. We got a couple quick announcements and want to say hi to the guys. If you are checking out the replay, that means you are probably, although I guess you could just be on YouTube checking out the replay, which is great. If you are, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. But if you are watching via semanticmastery.com/HDHO, where you can go and at the top of that page, there is the playlist with the latest Hump Day Hangout right there, making it easy. Next to that is where you can click and ask questions ahead of time. And right below that, we have AI Bradley, who is up to date with the last 12 months of Hump Day Hangout. So if you've got a question, go ahead and you can pop it in there if you want, and then go ahead and ask it for Hump Day Hangouts as well. We found that to be helpful. We're already getting a ton of questions, and we are reviewing the replies, and so far it is spot on. So really cool. If you're looking for something that we've covered on a previous Hump Day Hangout, of course, we don't expect you to know if it's been covered, but you could ask AI Bradley in there and then go ahead and pop in the question and show up to Hump Day Hangouts as well. So with that said, gonna say hello to the guys. So Chris, how you doing today?
Yeah, not sure what to say. I'm quite hot here, like 92 Celsius, Fahrenheit today.
Yeah,
So
I'm
summer
gonna
in full
guess.
force,
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that
92 Fahrenheit.
Bradley's probably the same. I think I'm at about 92 and the humidity's real high. How about you, Bradley?
Sorry, I had my video off. Yeah, it's stupid hot. It's like 90 degrees and just stupid hot. And an RV is not very comfortable in the heat. I can tell you that. They suck in the real cold and they suck in the real hot.
Yeah. Yeah, the
So,
insulation isn't great.
Nice.
So
yeah, yeah.
cool. All
So
right.
that's usually and it's just the way the sun hits this side of the RV, just where I'm at. It's in the afternoons that between about 3:30 and 6 o'clock is just almost unbearable. So usually by 5 o'clock, I'm ready to call it quits at this time of year. Well, at least I mean in the RV, just because it gets so freaking hot in here. I got to leave, and I go to the gym because it's cooler at the gym than it is in my RV. You know
Well,
what I mean? So
that's some
Time to visit the lake,
good
man.
motivation.
yeah, yeah.
Well, cool, guys. I did have one announcement. I definitely wanted to go over anyone who's on the Semantic Mastery email list. If you're not, head over to semanticmastery.com and get on there. Has found out that Brand Expander has expanded its reach beyond the Mastermind, and now you can get access to Brand Expander if you go to semanticmastery.com/brand expander, and I'll pop the link in there real quick. Bradley, do you want to just tell people again, if they're watching the replay or if they're here and they haven't seen this before, just a little bit about Brand Expander?
Yeah, Brand Expander is just it's kind of a relaunch of Syndication Academy without the syndication components. And that's because I found that over the years that the effectiveness of syndicating content had waned, it had declined. So it wasn't producing the same effect that it was, but we continued to still build new branded assets that we would optimize very well and then interlink with other branded assets. And we found that just doing that alone was sufficient enough to strengthen the entity. I just do local. Okay. And so for local SEO, by building branded assets on various types of platforms on the web, but optimizing the profiles well and then interlinking when possible to other branded assets. And then what I call assisting with discoverability, which is extracting those URLs and then putting them into like same as attributes and schema, or putting them into the ID page using a published Google Sheet and the embed code where all of those URLs are referenced in the G Sheet, putting that into the ID page, things like that. All of those are very it helps to build strength and authority to the local entity over time. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that if you consistently expand that entity footprint or inform the knowledge graph by helping Google understand who the business is, what they do, and where they do it, by corroborating or providing validating evidence that that is indeed what the company, the information about the company, name, address, phone number, website, etc. All of that can be achieved through citations, traditional and non-traditional. I call branded assets a lot of the times non-traditional citations because you mentioned the name, address, phone number, and website in the asset, the copy, the description, etc. And so because of that, what I found is just over time by building those assets and then making sure that Google is aware of them, which is again assisting with discoverability, that helps to at some point you reach kind of a critical mass or a tipping point in which the local business will just start to perform a lot better. And it's because of the strength and authority that's been built to that entity. At least that's my take on it. And so I've experienced with tree service contractors over the last several years that as long as we do that consistently, sometime around month 5, they really just blossom in the search results. Like if they haven't already, by that time they do. And a lot of that I can attribute specifically to just constantly reinforcing that. It's basically, guys, it's like building citations, but on non-traditional business directory formats or platforms. And so it's a very inexpensive way to be able to build authority for local businesses. It's not something any one of you guys should be doing. It's something that you should get the training and then plug a virtual assistant into and just let them follow the training. Every 2 weeks, there will be an update webinar where SE, our trainer, will reveal another couple of properties and show how to optimize them and everything else. And if you just plug a VA into that and just let them do that, execute those tasks for your client or clients over the next, several months, you'll see an improvement, almost guaranteed.
Sorry, I was busy putting
I was going to say
emojis into
some
chat.
space.
Sorry, Will got my attention. Then I saw Cecilia, so there we go. I had to do my waving my hands. So, anyways, thanks, Bradley. I appreciate that. I'll put the link into chat as well. Again, that's semanticmastery.com/brand expander. And we do have a really decent chunk taken off for launch week. So if you want to grab that and you're watching live, now's the time until Friday EST. If you're watching the replay, Friday would be, let's see, today's the 19th, so 20th, 21st at midnight EST. Price is going to go up on the brand expander just about 2x what it is right now. So if you hear this, want in, grab it. All right. With that said, guys, any other announcements before we jump into things?
I don't have anything off the top of my head.
Cool. All right.
All good.
Let's do it.
Give me 1 second while I clean up my desktop. Sorry, I just got like 1,000 tabs open and like 1,000 windows. All right, let's do it. Let me grab the screen and we're just going to jump into pre-post questions. We've got some good ones too. So, all right. Get this out of the way. Should be good. All right. So the first one is from Moosh. He says, "Hey, Bradley, I enjoyed your mastermind in the past with the courses it included. I also implemented the SOPs. I am good with cold email outreach too, but now I feel I am stagnating. When are you bringing out any new courses again, and what are the next steps?" Well, we don't really launch courses. I mean, we just talked about launching Brand Expander, but that's because that's kind of an ongoing thing. But our courses are the mastermind. That's what the mastermind is. It's continuous updates of what's working currently, what I'm doing in my agency to grow my businesses, etc. And that is the mastermind. So I mean, that's what it is. We don't usually launch individual courses. Occasionally we'll launch something, but really, but we don't provide support for those courses because the support is the mastermind. In other words, like we're probably going to be launching another product, which is just, it's part of the directory agency process, directory hybrid agency program, which is the local lead generation sites, the template that I've spent 2 years working on, trying to build the perfect structure for service area businesses. And I've got right now what is the control, right? The direct response marketing is you always find the best performing, and the best performer, that becomes the control. And then you constantly try to beat that by changing single variables and test against that and see if you can beat the control. And I've spent 2 years developing what is the current control, which is the local lead generation. So I call it an LLG site for local lead generation site. And I've got that in WordPress format and high level format for high level websites. And we've got full SOPs on how to build that, how to do what I call the georelevance data collection, all that kind of stuff. And so anyways, we're probably going to be launching that as a standalone course, which is just 2 SOPs. That's what it is. It's 2 full SOPs, one for WordPress and one for high level. And I think we're going to launch that sometime in the next month or so as just kind of a standalone product. But if you want additional support, if you have questions about that the SOPs, which is the training is an SOP format, then you have to join the mastermind, because what we found is over the years, it's too hard to maintain courses. It's not hard to maintain SOPs as part of a mastermind, right? In other words, because everything's constantly changing. And so we don't do one-off. If we're going to do a one-off sale, it's going to be disclaimed right up front, this is not going to be supported. If you have questions, you can either go to Hump Day Hangouts and get conceptual answers to your questions, or if you want very detailed answers to your questions, come join a mastermind. That's what the mastermind is for. It's for support, for ongoing support, ongoing training, what's current and what is working now, what I'm doing in my own agency to grow my businesses, all of that. So that is what the mastermind is for, guys. We have a ton of SOPs in there. Again, we don't launch courses, or very rarely, because all the training is in SOP format, which is in the mastermind. And that's what I've been working on, the directory hybrid agency SOPs, which is a whole series of SOPs, because it's a whole business model in a box, like it's a business in a box. So there is a bunch of standard operating procedures that I've been developing over 3 years now. No kidding. And right now, because we're in DHA phase 1 with what I call the beta plus group, I've redeveloped, or kind of optimized, so to speak, the SOPs considerably over the last. We're in week 8 now, with that week 8 out of 12 with the first group, the phase 1 group, and thanks to the members of that group, we've significantly improved the SOPs for that part of the training as part of the phase 1, the DHA phase 1 training, which is building the prospecting and sales machine, what I call the marketing and prospecting machine, whatever. That includes building LLG sites, local lead generation sites, because a lot of members of our audience or our group don't have any confidence in their abilities, which is why they have a hard time making sales. Because if you're not confident in what you're pitching, then it's hard to make a sale, because your lack of confidence comes through in your tonality. You can literally smell like a prospect can smell lack of confidence through a Zoom meeting or through a phone, and so part of the LLG site stuff that I'm talking about is in part to help people to build the confidence when pitching their services to prospects in an area, because then they could point to lead generation assets that are already ranking for that particular business owners or industries products and or services in their own local area. And that will help to elevate their confidence to where when you're pitching your services, you can point to results already. Like, look, I've already done it in your area. I can do this for you. Do you want to work together? Right. And that just changes the whole dynamic of the sales presentation. Instead of, well, I promise Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner that if you pay me $1,500 a month for the next 6 months, at some point during that time, I'm going to start generating leads for your business. Like, that's a hard sale, which is why I understand. And by the way, a lot of people really have no way of knowing whether they're actually going to be able to achieve those results in 6 months. They're just taking a wild ass guess and assuming that at some point they're going to be able to get results for them, because a lot of people don't have repeatable processes that they know produce results. Because they throw a bunch of different things at the wall for different projects, and some perform well and some don't, but they have no idea what they did on this campaign, because it's a mix of things and then they changed a mix of things for the next project. And people complain, oh, I don't have any consistent results. Well, what are you doing consistently? Like, are you changing things up all over? And so I develop SOPs based upon my own experience, my own testing, are things that I know that are duplicatable and scalable that produce results. And so again, the LLG site stuff that I'm talking about is a way to start generating lead generation assets that you can point to in your pitching process, your sales process, which will help you to land clients. And so that's probably the next course. Again, I don't like to say course because it's really SOPs that we're going to be selling separately. But the support will be the mastermind. There's only 2 options for support, and that is Hump Day Hangouts, which is free, but that means there's certain things, we can only cover conceptually, not get down into the nitty-gritty details, so to speak. But the mastermind is where I'm an open book. There's nothing that I hold back in the mastermind. And by the way, every mastermind member gets access to the full DHA program and all the SOPs. They just don't get the additional coaching unless you join the additional coaching program. So just to be clear for those people, because I know some people say, well, I want to join the DHA, but I don't want to, I don't have the resources to join the coaching program right now. That's fine. If you want to still build that same process into your agency, I have you guys have, the mastermind members have full access to the SOPs as it is. But the whole reason we have an additional coaching program for that is because a lot of people need specific support. and need hand holding in order to, and be held, and they also need to be held accountable. Because a lot of people will, and I'm the same way, guys, by the way. That's why I like to announce things to our audience whenever if I feel like I'm going to procrastinate on something, then I like to announce publicly that I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to do something, whatever it is, because then it's easy to disappoint yourself. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to not keep a commitment to yourself, but it's much harder to not keep a commitment to others. And so I like to publicly announce stuff when I know that I'm likely going to procrastinate on it or drag my feet, because then I'm now accountable to others. And so the same thing goes with the additional coaching group. We have accountability meetings, group accountability meetings every Monday. And then daily, we have office hours, which is an hour from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day that I'm available in a Zoom meeting for those program members, that in case they need individual specific support, they can jump on at any time during that hour, Monday through Friday. So it's 1 hour a day per 1 hour a day, Monday through Friday, that I'm available for Zoom meetings. And that, I'm on a Zoom meeting live for an hour. And if anybody wants to attend and ask specific questions or get like over the shoulder help, I'll tell them, share your screen, and I will walk them through how to execute whatever it is that they're struggling with or whatever. And so it's just, that is the difference, right? We've got some courses, but very few, and it's rare that we launch courses because of all the reasons I just mentioned. The Mastermind really is our course because it's current, it's updated. You can come and go as often as you want. Come join, join for 3 months or a month. If you join for the quarterly offer, you buy 2 months, you get the third free. That's 3 months for the price of 2, essentially. So you can come join for a quarter and then cancel out and then come back 6 months later if you want. I don't care. It's up to you. You can come and join as often as you want. But as far as, we're going to launch new courses, other than extracting bits and pieces out of larger kind of training or SOP, methods and models and things like that we might release, which is kind of more or less just to try to bring more people into the mastermind, right? Because the SOPs are very thorough. You don't need, but they're very thorough, into the point where if you just follow the SOP, you should be able to absolutely execute everything that the SOP is intended for. But some people are going to need they're going to have additional questions, they're going to need additional support, and that's what the mastermind is for. So hopefully that's clear. What are the next steps? Yeah, the next steps are, well, again, it would be like, well, where are you stuck? Because you say you're stagnating, but I don't have an answer. Like, I don't have enough context to know, like, what are the next steps from where, though? Like that's the whole point is, I don't know how to help you progress if I don't know where you're currently at. Like, what is the next step? I don't know, because I don't know what your last step was. So hopefully that's clear. But what I'm saying is, if you join the mastermind, if you've been there before and then you canceled for whatever reason, and now you feel like you've stagnated, excuse me, come back and we'll pick back up from where you left off and see how we can help you to move your business forward. Okay. Remember, when you rejoin, you get another 30-minute call with me, one-on-one, private one-on-one consultation session. Every time somebody joins the mastermind, even if you've been part of it before, you come back. You come back. To quote Jim Cramer, sell, sell, sell. Yeah, and it was the executive from Purdue Pharma that was, if you guys watched that, I don't think it was Pain Hustlers. I think it was the other one. There was 2 Netflix movies that came out fairly close to each other that were about the opioid like the opioid epidemic in the United States and everything else. And it wasn't the Pain Hustlers, which is the one with Emily Blunt and Chris Evans. It was the other one that came out before that had Ferris Bueller. What's his name? The actor from Ferris Bueller. Anyways, he was the executive or the owner from Purdue Pharma, but at they hired a bunch of, when they were pushing opioids out into to doctors across the country, they hired a bunch of really attractive young women to go push doctors to start prescribing oxycodone or Contin, or what, OxyContin, I guess it was, instead of other pain medicines. And the sales manager or whatever of that sales team for Purdue Pharma, like they were the ones that famously said, "Sell, baby, sell." And I love that. When I saw that movie, that hit me like a 2x4 across the head. And I internalized that. Sell, baby, sell. And I'll never forget that, because now that's what I've repeated that many, many times, with sell, baby, sell. So totally agree. Will says next step, sell, sell, sell. Yeah, I totally agree with that too. So if you've got cold email down, that means you should be generating leads for your agency. So the next step is just sell more, right? Derek says, hey, Bradley, what's going on? Recently, I heard incidences where people manage all their clients' GBP listings under the same agency email, which is a commercial or manager Google account, right, which is a workspace account. And when their agency email got suspended by random occurrence, all the GBP listings their agency email was a manager of got suspended as well. See, I've not heard of that. I've heard if you have an owner, an email account as an owner that is added to, whether it doesn't even have to be the primary owner, but just an owner. I've not heard about it happening from a manager account. I have heard it happening from an owner account. Like if you have a Google account that is added as an owner to multiple GBPs and the owner account gets suspended, it can suspend all of the GBPs it was associated with. I'm not saying it can't happen with a manager. I have just never experienced that or heard of that from others. So there is a difference between being added as a manager and being added as an owner. The primary owner, obviously, if the primary owner's account gets suspended, it's going to suspend the GBP. But as a secondary owner or an additional owner, I know that can suspend all accounts associated with it. But I didn't know that a manager could do that. I've not experienced it myself or heard of that from others. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying I haven't heard about it. So to carry on with the question, I currently have all my GBP listings managed by William Jones' team, and they do use the same email to manage all the GBP listings. So I'm kind of worried that if the email they use to manage my GBP listings ever gets suspended, all my GBP listings they manage for me will get suspended as well. Yeah, I mean, if it is true that as a manager account, everything that the manager is associated with can get suspended, then that would be a concern I would have too. Again, I've never heard that before, which is why with my white label services, we have a workspace account email that we ask to be added as a manager, and it is the same workspace account. But when somebody leaves us, by the way, we go in and remove ourselves as the manager so that we're not added to a bunch of GBPs out there that we're actually not managing. So we're very good about going in and removing that manager access if the client cancels. So, but yeah, I mean, if that's a true statement, I'm not calling you a liar. Okay. I've just never heard of it. I've never seen it. But if that is a true statement, that is something to be concerned about. What would you suggest are the best practices in order to prevent incidences like this, where all the GBP listings get suspended due to a manager account managing all the GBPs listings getting suspended? Well, don't use any services that are going to have their same white label or same email address added as a manager to dozens or hundreds or thousands of GBPs. Like, I mean, there's no other way to mitigate that other than to just not use services that are going to do that if that is the case. Okay. But again, I find that a bit suspect because again, a primary owner or an owner account, I can understand, but not a manager account, because that would just think about large agencies or Bright Local or White Spark or Local Falcon. Well, we all know what happened with them, right? I think it was Local Falcon that had the problem a while back with a dirty API and a bunch of people shit got suspended. I'm not saying I don't know if it was Local Falcon or Local Viking. I think it was Local Viking, not Local Falcon. I know they cleaned up all that, resolved all that stuff. Whichever one it was, I don't remember. I'm not trying to talk bad about it. They resolved all that stuff. But what I'm saying is there are a lot of big agencies out there that are added as a manager to a lot of to hundreds or thousands of Google business profiles. And so I can't imagine a manager account could do that, but maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not saying that that's not possible. I've just never heard of it. And it doesn't seem to make any sense to me why a manager account would, if a manager account got terminated, that would suspend all of those that it's attached to, because it's not an owner, it's a manager, right? It's a vendor, it's a contractor. Does that make sense? So anyway, but if that's true, then that would be a concern. And that would be something that I would ask before ever using a white label service or an agency for any of my projects. I would ask, are you going to set up a dedicated account as a manager for this, or is this attached to other GBPs? And if they say it's attached to other GBPs, I'd say, well, I'm going to require a dedicated account. Or you could create a workspace account user for your workspace account, and then assign that account to them. You're going to pay for it, $7.20 per month for a basic starter account, workspace user. But then at least you're mitigating that potential risk. Does that make sense? But some agencies aren't going to do that, because can you imagine, as an agency that's managing dozens or hundreds or even thousands of clients, if they had to have separate logins for every single GBP and they have a large team? Could you imagine how complicated that would be? So that's why there is that ability for us to add an email as a manager, because then an agency can manage many accounts from one login, one workspace, or one Gmail account. So hopefully that's clear. What would you suggest I do? Avoid any services that have emails accounts that are added as managers across dozens of GBPs, but it's going to be difficult to do, because most services that are GBP related are going to, unless it's an API connection or something, it's going to be all similar type of connection. Alan says, how many changes can you make to a GBP in a week before Google or bans or flags your accounts? It depends on what you're changing. Minor changes, things that aren't what are considered major changes, like changing the primary category, changing the business name. Those are like big changes. Changing the address, that's a huge change. But things like changing services, adding or removing additional categories typically doesn't cause any problems. And as far as is there a threshold, I don't know. I honestly don't know if there's some number of tasks that can occur that once you pass that, it trips, it's a trigger. It's a, it triggers a suspension or re-verification. I've not heard of that. I'm always nervous about making changes in a GBP2, guys, like even real client accounts. I always get nervous about making a bunch of changes to them. But the way I look at it is just do it. If it's an account that can be re-verified or reinstated, just do what you got to do. And just make it clear to the client that there are changes that have to be made, and that there is a chance that it's going to trigger re-verification or suspension. But as long as it is a real valid GBP with a real valid physical location, then you should be able to get it reinstated. And so I disclaim that, be very clear with your clients right up front. Like, look, we got to make some changes to your GBP. Google is very finicky right now. If it's likely or it's possible that something could happen that's going to trigger re-verification or suspension. If that's the case, your GBP is not going to be published until we get it re-verified. And there is a bit of a process for that. Are you comfortable with us making those changes? There's only two choices. They can either say no and stay with a non-performing GBP anyway, which isn't producing for them, most likely, which is why they needed you or somebody to do SEO for them anyway, right? Or they can say agree to it and just understand that there is a level of risk. But it can be resolved provided it's a real valid business location. So in my opinion, it's worth the risk, because if we are able to make the changes and no suspension, then great, we're golden. But if we make the changes and it triggers re-verification or suspension, then we have to go through the inconvenient process of trying to get it restated or reinstated or re-verified. But once we do, then it's going to come back stronger. It's less likely to get suspended again because it went through that rigorous verification process. And now it's going to start performing better, or can, because of the changes that were made that were required in order for it to start performing anyway. So it's really like, 6 in one, half dozen in the other. Do you want to stay with a non-performing GBP, or do you want to take the chance? And if we, even if it does get suspended, we'll get it re-verified or whatever. And you're going to come back stronger than you were before. So it's pretty much a binary choice. It's either yes or no. So as far as the number of things that you can change, I don't know if there is a threshold for that. I think it's more or less what you're changing, not the number of things that you change. Again, I could be wrong about that, but I don't know. That threshold may vary if there is a trigger point. It may vary depending on other variables. So, which it likely is. For example, just to be clear, like there are certain GBP categories, Google business categories, that are very trigger happy, right? Very sensitive, like locksmiths, overhead garage doors, or overhead doors. Like those types of, they get suspended like that, right? Because they're historically been spammed to death. That's why. But in other industries, you can you can almost get away with murder and they don't get suspended. So there's a whole bunch of variables that determine like how sensitive Google is to those types of changes. And I certainly don't know what those variables are. Okay. YouTube comment. Okay, so this is we're testing pulling in because I'm terrible at monitoring YouTube comments, guys. I don't really chat in YouTube. I don't chat in social media, period. You guys are probably all aware of that. I'm not a fan of social media. And YouTube, we get a bunch of questions and comments in there all the time, and I do not answer them. So we're starting a test with importing some questions from YouTube into Hump Day Hangouts, guys. So just to clarify what we're looking at. Video says what CM does, or CM video says it's like saying pause when people are supposed to. Never mind. Anyways, what CMS do you prefer using now that you don't use WordPress anymore? High level. Good to hear. What if you wanted to sell the website? Then you tell the client, you tell your client that is using or that you have assigned a sub account to from your high level account, which is likely how they would have the website to begin with, right? You deploy a sub account for them from your agency account or SaaS account, one or the other. And then they're now, paying for the site, but through a sub account that you have through your agency. Well, if they want to take the site with them, like if they decide to cancel services with you and they want to take the site with them, then send them your affiliate link to high level, tell them to then go subscribe to go get a starter account from high level for $97 a month, which with your affiliate link gives you 40% of that recurring. So you get $40 a month roughly to sell them to tell them to go get their own high level account. And then you just do a sub account transfer. Once they have their high level account set up, which is again, all they need is the starter account, which allows one sub account, which would be their sub account, right? Then that's $97 a month, and you get $40 a month for as long as they have that active subscription. And then you just do a sub account transfer request. It's easy to do. I do it all the time. So it's not hard at all. There's you fill out a form from the sub account that you're requesting to transfer. So you fill out a form that's the from details and the to details. So where are you transferring it from? Where are you transferring it to? And then both parties get an email. And once they both agree to that, transfer goes through just like that. Super easy to do. It literally takes just a couple of minutes to do it. In about 24 hours for the system to respond and everything. But that's it. 24 hours and now it's been transferred. That's why we don't sell websites. Well, we can, but we're renting websites because the whole goal is for Tree Care HQ, for my agency, I'm renting websites. If they want to take it with them, or if they want to use a custom domain, then we charge a setup fee. We don't charge setup like website build fees. We're just renting the sites out. So we'll build the site for free, and then we rent it to a client once they're ready. And if they want to take the site with them, then they have to, that's fine. But they're going to have to go get their own high level account, and then I'll transfer it into their high level account. That makes sense. But it's going to be hopefully through my affiliate link. And so we're still going to get paid. We charge them $99 a month to rent the site, or $40 a month if they want to take it with them, because they're built in high level. So we're getting the money either way. You know what I mean? We're maybe not as much, but then we're not responsible for maintaining it or managing it either. So if they want a custom domain, then we charge a setup fee for real. I think it's $199 right now, but we charge a setup fee if they want to use a custom domain. Otherwise, it's on my domain. And by the way, with a custom domain, you can just do a redirect from their domain so that there's a lot of things we could get into on that, but we won't. Anyway, hopefully that's clear. Can it be changed over to, yes, sub account transfer. Go to help.gohighlevel.com, guys. You can just search for transfer. Just search transfer. You'll see the help files that come up that include transfer, and it's going to be one of the top ones. Okay, simple to do. Can you set up a GBP without using an address? No. How can we practice using? That's a weird question for that video. Seems like it's really out of place. How can we practice SEO using RSS feed plus content curation? That was a comment or a question from can we set up a GP? That's weird. I don't know. I don't have the full context on that. So I think I'm just going to skip that one. That was a YouTube comment anyway. So, all right, next one is Bill says, I think you mentioned that you've looked at Search Console data. Oh, yeah, and I've got an example here to show you. I think you mentioned that you've looked at Search Console data to find keywords for linking. What do you do exactly? Any way to speed it up? Well, I'm glad you asked, because first of all, yes, I will demonstrate how to do it in Search Console, but how to speed it up? Get SEO Gets. Adam, if you're still on, that's a great opportunity to drop the drop the link for SEO Gets.
Let me
Um,
just drop that over here.
Yeah, which by the way, that is an amazing tool and application. It really is. It's super cool because it's very simple tool that does just data display, but in a much simpler way than Search Console. And you can see like all of your accounts in one screen. It's really cool. It's perfect for like those of you that are building lead gen assets because you can connect all of your lead gen assets to SEO Gets and you can see on one big dashboard screen all of your sites. And so if you're in the DHA program, I'm teaching people to do keyword and competition and location research to try to find low competition areas. Those are the areas you build the sites in, the local lead gen sites. And you just deploy site after site after site. It's the same template. Once you've modified the first version of the template for your chosen industry with the keywords, the images, and all that, then you clone that and you just redeploy that over and over and over again for each new location. So it's easily scalable. And then you just put all of those in the Search Console and an organic rank tracker. I use Zootrix for that because Zootrix is very inexpensive. And it's just organic assets, no GVPs. And so you do all that in Zootrix or any rank tracker you want. I just use that because it's inexpensive. And then Search Console and with SEO Gets, you can look at all of your lead generation assets on one dashboard screen, and you can see which ones are getting traffic, which ones aren't. The ones that are getting traffic are obviously the ones that you can monetize. So it's just a great method. And SEO Gets is going to be integrated into our program as well. Because that's what I'm teaching people to do is go out build a bunch of lead generation assets. Because when you do your keyword and competition research properly, you're going to find areas, especially with the LOG site structure that I've been developing for 2 freaking years. No kidding. And the current version is the control, meaning it's the best performer. I've not found anything that beats that configuration yet. And so once you figure it out, once you figure out your industry, the best keywords, and you implement that into the LOG site structure that I built, then now you just duplicate that over and over and over again. But based upon keyword and competition and location research, identify low competition areas. And then you just deploy site after site after site. And by the way, I expect people that go through our program to learn how to do it. But as soon as they learn how to do it and are comfortable, it's delegate that. Hire a VA, pay a VA. Don't pay them per hour. Even some of my program members now have said to me, like, I'm paying a VA and I feel like they're taking time from me because it's taking. Why are you paying them by the hour? Pay them per task completed, because that gives them, look, if you pay somebody by the hour, doesn't it give them incentive to drag their feet? Of course it does. So pay them per task completed because that gives them incentive to become more efficient, right? Because they make more money. The more they produce, the more they make. So it's in their best interest to be more efficient. And so pay them to deploy an LLG site, do the research and deploy an LLG site. Let's say you pay them $30 per site. No kidding. I can do an LLG site myself in about 2.5 to 3 hours, right? If you trained a VA, which by the way, we have full SOPs for this, plug them in the SOP, it's going to take them probably 8 hours, 10 hours to do the first one. The second time, it might take them 6 hours. The third time, it'd probably take them 4. The fourth time, now they're talking about, get down to three hours or less per site build. Because I've done several of them myself, which is why I've gotten it down to about 2.5 or 3 hours from start to finish to deploy a site. So let's say you hire a Philippines VA and you pay him $30 per site and tell them, look, the first one's going to go slow. We're paying by the hour to do the first one, whatever. So paying $5 or $6 an hour and it takes them 10 hours and you pay 50 or $60. But now they know it. Pay them, because I do that for my VAs, by the way. When I bring new VAs on, I pay them to go by the hour to go through the training, the SOPs. Once they have completed their whatever tasks I've assigned to them via the SOPs, and they've proven that the work that they've done is acceptable, right? The quality is there and all that, passes all the tests, all my quality control tests. Then they're moved to pay per completed task, excuse me. And that's it. I've only got 2 hourly employees out of 28. And that's because everybody else is paid per task, so that it gives them incentive to become more efficient, to become more productive. And I tell them, you have the SOP, you've learned the process. Now it's up to you. If you can find ways to make it more efficient, apps, tools, etc., that are going to help you to be able to do this task faster, then by all means do that, because it's their responsibility. They can write their own paycheck that way, right? And so something like these LLG sites, like I said, it's if you pay somebody $30, like it's just as an example, maybe pay them to go through the SOP by the hour. Once they know it, they're producing consistent quality, etc. Then change them over to like $30 an hour. Now, if a VA in the Philippines can deploy an LLG site from start to finish in 3 hours, and you pay him $30, that's $10 an hour. That's damn good money for a Philippines virtual assistant, right? Let's say that they get really good because that's their sole job. Like I can do it in 2.5 or 3 hours, and I've done about a dozen, maybe 15 of those sites. But if somebody's doing it and that's their full-time job is just doing those sites over and over and over again, they will get incredibly efficient at it. And so let's say it takes them 2 hours. Now, didn't they just increase their pay from $10 an hour to 15? They're not getting paid per the hour, but essentially they just increased their pay by 50% because they reduced their the time to complete by 33% in that exam, right? From 3 hours to 2, it increased their wage or their earnings by 50%. There's a reduction in time to complete by 33%, right? And so again, it's incentive for them to get really good. So anyway, all of that, guys, was to say like SEO Gets is a really good way to identify stuff from Search Console very, very quickly. Now to get back to the question that was asked 5 minutes ago. I think you mentioned that you've looked at Search Console data to find keywords for linking. What do you do exactly? I'm going to show you how to do it. So here in Search Console, I'm just using an example project. This is Felling Pro, which is just it was one of the sites that I was testing for doing multi-location lead generation assets. Multi-location meaning across multiple states. This is not the best performer. The LLG site structure that I've been teaching in the Mastermind now for quite some time, that is the best performing by far. And that is why I call it the control, because I've yet to been able to beat the performance of that particular structure. It's site template, architecture, whatever you want to call it. They all mean the same thing. But anyways, here's Felling Pro. So to start with, go to performance, select the domain from Search Console or the URL prefix. That's how this is. This is called a URL prefix, right? So then go to performance. Then what you want to do is select the page or the search query that you want to analyze. So I'm going to go to pages in this case. And we're going to go, let's see, I'm just going to do rows per page. I always like to expand that data. And then you can sort by position if you want or whatever. Just go find the page that you're interested in targeting. I'm going to we're going to go with this one, Phoenixville. Right here. This has got 1,649 impressions, but it's on average position 22. And so it's got 0 clicks over the last 3 months. So let's go in and take a look at that. That's on average position 2. So that's not as, that's okay. We can still use this as the example. So then just click into that URL. So guys, just to clarify, go to performance, pages, find the page that you're looking to extract the search queries that Google's given that page impressions for. In this case, like I said, I'm going to use this Phoenixville, Pennsylvania page. So then click on that page, and then once you've clicked that page, you'll see that it's been added up here. So that's a filter. It's only showing data for that specific page URL. And then you just come down and click queries. Now, if I expand that, now you can see the search queries that page has got been given impressions for. So then you can export that data, eliminate or delete any of the non-relevant search queries that aren't relevant to that specific page. And then what's left is now your list of keywords that you can use for anchor text for link building. Because now this is varied, guys. This is what Google already has. Google already understands or thinks that this page is relevant for these search queries, which is why it got an impression. It doesn't matter where it is in the search results, guys. That makes no difference for this method. This is about identifying what does Google think this page is relevant to? Which search queries is this page relevant to, according to Google? And out of those, you want to extract the ones that are clearly not related or relevant to that project. But the rest of them, those now become anchor text that can be used for, keywords that can be used for anchor text for link building. You can also use those search or those phrases in like CTR stuff, right? If you're doing that. So this is a great way to do it. By the way, you can also take some of those search queries and kind of sprinkle them through the content. Although I've been teaching a lot about this recently in the mastermind for local projects, guys. It's not about the content. It's not about the content. It's truly not. It's about the structure, the page structure, URL, SEO, title, H1, headings, and subheadings. That's what it's about. And then how that page relates to the other pages on the site, and how you do that is through internal linking. And it's not about the content on the page. I'm not kidding. It's about the headings, the biggest optimization elements of the page itself. That is what Google is using to determine what the page is about now. Not read for local. I'm talking about local because I can hear it already. Well, that's not true. Okay. I'm talking about local, specifically for local. Google is not, and that may change. It likely will change. But right now, it's not content that matters. It's the structure that matters. And I've been proving that over and over and over again recently. By the way, some of you guys that are in the mastermind, I talked about this, I think last week. I said I was going to set up a test where I'm going to take the Bucking and Felling Pro site and duplicate that onto another domain and remove all content except for headings and images. And I did that, by the way. That site's it's deployed. It's still set to no index because I think I still have 2 or 3 pages left to pull the content out of, like delete the content from those pages. So maybe on Friday I'll get that done, and by the next Build with Bradley meeting, it'll be live, hopefully indexed by that point. But for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I do have a test out there right now again, I've started to build the test. I have not completed it yet. But that is, can I rank a local site with no content other than images and headings, or headings and images, excuse me. So the proper structure, page structure, site structure, internal linking, that is all done properly, but no content other than images and headings. And I think I can do it. I'm almost 100% sure I can do it. Because again, it's not content that Google's looking at right now. I'm not saying that it's not going to change, but right now, Google's not really paying attention to the content for local sites. It's about the main elements of the page. So anyway, hopefully that's clear. Guys, again, Search Console, go to Performance, select the page that you want to select. So go to Pages, just find whatever page it is you want to look at. Preferably the ones that have high impression counts but are no clicks. Those are ones that you typically want to look at. So then click on the page. Once you click the page, click Queries. There you have it. There's your whole
Bradley.
list of keywords. Go ahead.
Console Spy.
Oh yeah,
I just thought about that.
that's a good thing. Well, that's because we're talking about Search Console, so I understand. Yeah, we've also got, do we have a sales page yet? Is that ready, or are we just teasing it right now?
No, I've got a early access list. Literally, I had it put together yesterday. So
Okay.
yeah, if you just want to tell people kind of what we're working on, we don't have a date or anything. It's just in a very potentially getting close to beta kind of version, but I've got an early access list if people want to find out about it.
Yeah, so Console Spy, it's a domain I bought, I don't know, several years ago, because I needed it for white label stuff anyway. But we decided to, and I had an idea for an app, which was to build a Search Console app, or an app that integrates with Search Console that then can trigger notifications when certain thresholds were met, like a page hits a certain ranking position, things like that, and it will send a notification out, say, hey, this page just reached, position 15 from whatever it was previously. You might want to go in and it basically just prompts you to go in and take a look at, analyze that particular page URL a little bit more to determine, can you do things to the content to improve it, or the structure is what I would recommend for local. It's not really the content, it's the structure. Can you optimize the structure of the page for it to perform better? Can you build links to that page, which is what exactly what I just showed you right here. That's what the app is intended to do, is to trigger you to then go look at, okay, this page is now in position, 15 or whatever the threshold is that either we set, because we haven't decided whether we're going to set that or if we're going to allow you to set that threshold as to when it sends the notification. But let's say that you've got a page that, you published on a client site, and you've been tracking it for the last few weeks, and it's slowly climbing up from page 3 onto page 2, and then if the Console Spy app will send a notification when it hits that minimum threshold, let's say position 15, that's just an example. And then it will basically send you a notification that says, hey, go look at this. This page is close to getting onto page 1. And then you can go in and do what I just showed you here, which is go extract your search queries and then build links to it, or optimize the structure of the page better. Again, it's not really about the content right now. but maybe the page structure, maybe your headings need to be optimized better, SEO title, URL, whatever. So go in and do that. Now you've got your search queries or keywords that you would be using for anchor text for link building. All of those things can now be applied to that page to push it over onto page one. If that makes sense. That's what Console Spy is. It's going to be very, very inexpensive. Very inexpensive, especially initially in beta, because we're still developing. I want to add a bunch of features to it over time. But yeah, you guys can check it out. So, okay. Sweet. All right. Sweet. I think we answered that. So next, Sam says, is rank and rent still possible in 2024? Yes. Rank and rent SEO, that is exactly what I'm teaching in the DHA program. That is not a joke, guys. That is exactly what I'm teaching. And it's not necessarily that because that's what I was just talking about, guys. You can build the sites first and then pitch those sites through your, or point to them. The directory hybrid agency model, guys, the reason why there is a hybrid in the name of that program is because it's a hybrid model. It's a hybrid between lead generation and traditional retainer-based SEO services or retainer-based client work. Let's put it that way, because it's not just marketing and SEO. It's business optimization. That's what we're doing. It's not just SEO lead generation. So anyway, the hybrid model is a combination of lead generation and retainer-based services, right? For people that are new or that lack confidence in their abilities or their abilities to, or lack confidence in their selling, right? Then it's build the assets first. Once they're ranking, then you use that, you target those areas where you have ranking assets for your outreach, right? For prospecting. And then you sell. When you're selling, you point to those assets that's the area for this. The ranking assets for their products and services in their own area. Look, we're already outranking you in your own area for your own products and services. Do you want this? We can do this for you. We can assign this site to you. Just sign up for our services here. So yes, you can either rent the sites out on a flat fee rental, monthly fee, which is what we're doing at $99 a month, or you can build the site and then use that as a sales tool to point to when you're pitching traditional retainer-based services. And then once you land a client for traditional retainer-based services where you're going to do SEO on their GBP and on maybe perhaps their website as well, but can't you then also add that lead generation site to as like a value add, right? A value add-on, so to speak. Like, hey, if you sign up with us in the next 24 hours, the next 72 hours, whatever, for the $1,000 a month Google Business SEO service, whatever it is that your service offerings are, we will assign this lead generation asset that we already have ranking in your area to your project, essentially giving you any of the leads that come from that property, right? So it's a hybrid model because you can still rent the site out, you can still do pay per lead if you want, or revenue share, which are all lead generation methods, lead generation monetization methods, or you can do traditional retainer-based services or a hybrid of both, right? Where you can do lead gen through assets that you have and still do retainer-based services for them. So is it still possible? Absolutely. And I think it's a good model right now because I will not work on spammed GBPs anymore, other than some of my own that I still have. I won't do it. It's, in my opinion, it's stupid to build your business on foundation that Google can pull the rug out from underneath of you at any given time. Tired of it. Tired of spending money, resources, effort, time on building up an asset that is a spammed GBP listing that at any moment could be suspended and I won't be able to re-verify it. I'm tired of it. I'm not doing that. I'm not teaching that anymore. That's why I developed the directory hybrid agency model, was so that you build organic lead generation assets that then you can plug a GBP into when you get a paying retainer-based client, so that you're not worrying about having your business built upon, a house of cards, so to speak. Your business is now built upon things that you have a lot more control over. Don't get me wrong, Google could de-index sites and all that kind of stuff, but it's a hell of a lot less likely, especially if you're not doing anything spammy, which what we're doing is just solid on-page SEO and doing the proper keyword and competition research before entering into a market, so that we're only targeting markets that are going to require very little additional SEO work other than just strong on-page. And that's the whole program in a box, guys, because I want people scaling. I don't know why SEOs, and I did it too in the past, but so I'm not above this. I've just learned through experience not to do it anymore. And that is, why do SEOs always want to go target the big markets that have high search volume? Those are the ones that are the incredibly difficult. They're going to, so, and think about this. If you're new and you don't have a lot of experience at ranking stuff and you go pick a market that's difficult, it's going to be discouraging because it might take months and months and months before you see any significant results. If you go find in low competition areas where people are still spending money to generate leads for those search queries, which you can very easily tell by just looking at Google Ads, determining, are there advertisers advertising in this specific area that we've identified as low SEO competition? And as long as there's advertisers bidding for keywords in that area, then you know people are spending money on generating leads from Google, right? So why not target those areas? And I teach that. We have a full SOP for keyword and competition and location research. It teaches you how very quickly to identify low competition areas that then you go target with organic assets that are will require very little, if any, off-page work, meaning backlinks. So you just deploy the assets and then let them sit. What I call it seasoning. You just plug them into a rank tracker, plug them into Search Console so you can see when they start to receive traffic and everything else, and then leave them alone. Give it 6 or 8 weeks. A lot of these sites are going to rise up in the search results and start having rankings with no additional work whatsoever. And then those are the ones that you can monetize first through a rent. You can rent them, you can sell the leads, or you can add them to the client, like as a value add-on if a client signs up with you for under traditional retainer-based services, right? And again, you're not worrying about GBPs then. Your client will have a GBP. So that is what you work on as far as GBPs. But for everything else, it's organic assets that you own and control. It's a much better model, in my opinion, guys, because it's solid. It's a lot less likely that Google's going to take it from, right? And again, I'll just demonstrate this. Let's take a look at this. Here's an example of one that I just deployed 2 weeks ago. Just 2 weeks ago. Look at this site, guys. 0 backlinks. Well, I might have built a backlink. I don't know if I did or not. I know I built one to Williamson Felling Pro, which is another one that I deployed last week. Stand by. I think there's 0 backlinks for this, but we're going to look. Just okay, 1 backlink. So I lied. Just show the screen. And that's weird. I don't even know where that came from. That's not one of my links. Yeah, I don't know where that's somebody else linked to that. That's not a link that I placed. This is not, I would never place a link into something like this. So this looks like, I don't know who did this or what, but that is not from me. So anyways, this is just to show you this right here, chester.felling.pro is a LLG site. This is the template that I was talking about earlier. It's an LLG site that I deployed in the middle of May. Right around May 10th or something like that. Anyways, 0 backlinks. Well, you saw that 1 backlink. It wasn't that I built. Somebody else built that link, and that link has 0 value. Look at it, 0 value. Okay, and look at these rankings again. 0 backlinks. Just built the site, set it for indexing, and then plugged it in here so that I can track rankings. Right. And take a look at this, guys. We've got 11 keywords out of the top 10. Not bad for a site that's brand new that has no backlinks. So the point, and by the way, this is a new site. You can see that it's climbing up on its own. And just leave them alone. That's what I'm saying. The goal is to build a bunch of sites, and then just some of them are going to rise up and produce results with no additional work. Those are the ones that you monetize first. Then when you get some money coming in from those assets that you've monetized, then you can start to invest in building links to the assets that aren't ranking well yet. But now you're using your client's money to build your assets up, that then you monetize those when they start to perform. But you don't have to fund this out of pocket, right? You fund it with your client's money. So that's why it's good to do the keyword and competition research, identify low competition areas, go deploy sites in dozens of areas out there, and let's say only 30% of them ever perform. If you built 30 freaking sites out there and 10 of them are now performing, now you've got 10 assets that you can then go monetize now with no additional work. And by the way, doesn't that also mean there's no maintenance because they're already ranking with no backlinks? So those are the easiest ones to manage and maintain. But now you've got revenue coming in that you can then go invest in building links to the other 20 assets out of those 30 that aren't performing yet. And once they start to rank, go monetize those, right? And you just keep repeating that process, guys. One industry. Don't reinvent the wheel and go out and do all this work across 18 industries, which I know most of you are going to do. Pick one industry and scale the shit out of that. That's how you make money, not by going out and reinventing the wheel for every new project because you have to go do all the keyword research and all this and all that. Don't do that. Pick one, figure out what works best in that industry, and then scale it. Just duplicate over and over and over again at different locations. Make your job easy, guys, not hard. Right? LOG site template right there. That is exactly what I'm teaching. That's a high-level site deployed a month ago, if that. And it's ranking quite well with no backlinks at all. So if I start building links to this project will start to perform better. But I like to leave them sit so that I don't want to skew the results for my students and say, and by going and building a bunch of links to them and then saying, pointing to rankings when I built a bunch of links. I don't want that. I want to show how these projects will perform with no links, right? Or very few. So, all right, we've got to run. Is the PBN strategy to rank websites still working in 2024? I've been away for SEO for a while and I want to tackle a new site project. A PBN strategy? I'm not sure what you mean. You should be building links with relevance. If you can build private blog network sites that have relevance, then yeah, that'll still work as long as you know how to hide your footprint. Google's really good about picking up on footprints now, guys. So you got to be careful about that. But as long as you're building links with relevance, you should be fine. And you know how to hide your footprint. Okay, so here was a question somebody asked. I know if you guys got to go. I've got 2 more questions. YouTube comment says, I know I only pop in now and then, but what's the difference between G sites and the one Google just killed? Sites.google.com is Google Sites, guys. That's G sites. Google Sites is sites.google.com. They're still alive and well. Google business websites were killed in March of this year. Okay, those were the free one-page websites that you could build as part of the Google business profile. That's the Google business website. That is different than Google sites. G sites are Google sites. GB websites are Google business websites. A one-page landing page that you could build as part of the Google business profile. Those were retired or sunsetted in March of this year. So yeah, Google sites are still alive. You can still use them. We still use them. What SEO strategies are you teaching in the mastermind? I'm curious, but not sure. It's 100% local SEO. Local SEO. Well, actually, I was incorrect in saying that. It's local SEO as far as SEO. Well, you asked what SEO strategies. So I did answer your question properly. But I teach a lot more than just SEO. I teach on how to build a business, how to run an agency, how to outsource, how to build SOPs, how to do marketing and sales, prospecting, lead generation for your own agency, all that kind of stuff. Because there's a lot more to building a business from SEO than just knowing SEO. And I'm trying to teach that, right? But it's all local SEO based. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for being here. Sorry I didn't get to comments, guys. There's a lot of good questions today. So I'm going to wrap it up. Appreciate you guys. We do have a mastermind meeting tomorrow, mastermind webinar, excuse me, tomorrow. So those of you that are in the mastermind, come join me over there. Otherwise,